All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the It Is Well podcast. I am your host, Jasmine Caldwell. Well, it's called It Is Well with Jasmine Caldwell, and I'm your host. I just happen to be Jasmine Caldwell, the host and creator of this podcast. So if you're new here, let me tell you about what this podcast is all about. We're a faith-based podcast, and we're helping Black Christian women tell and live out their best entrepreneurial story by sharing the testimonies of women who are currently walking it out. And we also, around here, we teach biblical principles to help you grow and scale your business, faith in Christ, family, and beyond. Because, whether you know it or not, all of those things are interconnected, and we hope to help you grow in all of those areas. So today is one of those days where I have a very special guest, amen. Before I introduce her, I just want to reiterate how grateful I am to have these women share these testimonies of their businesses, because whether you're just starting out or you're feeling discouraged, it's always so helpful to hear the testimonies of these women, these faith-based women who are walking out their faith journey through their businesses, because that's a whole different animal. So today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Kayla Life. Welcome to the pod, Kayla.
Hello. So happy and grateful to be here with all of you guys.
We are grateful to have you and hear your story. Before I jump into the questions, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it, okay? Really? This is about to be, listen, this podcast is about to be fire, but you see the fire red hair on Kayla, if you're watching the video version. So just anticipate, this is about to be fire, okay? Mm-hmm. Lit with Holy Ghost fire. So let me tell you a little bit about Kayla before we jump into it. So Kayla Life is a highly experienced and educated CTO, rebrand strategist, and transformational leadership coach. She specializes in helping entrepreneurs and businesses navigate their ever-changing tech landscape, uses technology to stay organized and scale their businesses. She also has a unique perspective on her work by being able to help neurodivergent entrepreneurs and businesses use technology to stay organized and scale their business. With her deep understanding of technology, her expertise on how to support neurodivergent individuals, and her background in leadership, she provides practical solutions and strategies that are tailored to the unique needs of each individual. Kayla is also an advocate for closing the racial technology gap and creating a more inclusive and equitable tech industry. She is dedicated to helping entrepreneurs and business leaders reach their full potential, whether it is through rebranding, technology education, or leadership development. And that is her. Again, welcome to the podcast, Kayla. And you go by Kay sometimes, right?
You know what? It depends on what area of life you met me at. If you call me Kay, I'm going to answer to it. Some people just call me Life because that's what I went by for 10-something years as an educator. So that's fine too. And if you call me Kayla, I'm answering to that too because that's my name.
Amen. And I feel like, before I get into the questions, I just feel like your last name is so prophetic.
Yes.
Because you breathe life, like just through hearing more about what you do, you breathe life into branding and you breathe life into these inequities in technologies, especially for people that are underrepresented or not given the support within the technology space. I know when I was a recruiter for 8+ years in the tech space, I saw that over and over again. We weren't given the same opportunities, and God forbid you be neurodivergent. I myself have ADHD. Yes, and it's different. It is it's different. It's a whole nother animal. So I'm excited to dive deeper into that. But let's start here. Tell me, we heard your background, but I want to hear from your own words and your own perspective. Kay, tell me about what you do and who you best serve in your business.
Absolutely. Well, I think that you gave a phenomenal introduction to who I am. So let me just expand on that a little bit, just to give you a clear picture of how I get things done. So I know that my God gift, and I've known this for a very long time, is to create spaces. What I did not understand is what that really looked like. I didn't understand what the word was to put to what I was doing. However, no matter what space I step into, I'm creating another space for other people to thrive. So my background actually is in education. I have a bachelor's in education studies from the one, the only Spelman College.
Oh,
I also have a master's in school counseling and in advanced certification in both software engineering and in mental health. So I technically can go and be a mental health therapist or a software engineer. However, what I've decided is best for my life and what God has led me to is to utilize all of my skills and talents to be this person that you see before you today. So where my wheelhouse lies into is that creating spaces. I build phenomenal programs, multi-million-dollar curriculums for my clients to help them advance in their spaces, no matter what that looks like. I have gone from educational spaces, tech spaces, nonprofit spaces. What I found is that I am best suited for community-based entrepreneurs, people that are building something that are lasting beyond themselves, no matter who it's helping. And what I can see from when I'm speaking to someone or they're talking to me about their business, Rebrand Land itself caters specifically to B2B. So individuals that have, budgets, high grossing, $1 million to $5 million, that we can build more things inside of to help the next person. And so what I do is come in with this distinct eye, right? That spirit of discernment and say, okay, who is your target? Who is the person that you are serving and how can we best serve them? Most of the time, I know exactly what needs to happen, right? Especially if it's little Black and brown kids, my favorite thing to do. I know exactly how to move that curriculum forward, and how to create impact metrics, how to guide it, how to judge it, how to test it, how to go back and redo it, and how to make sure that everyone is equipped to move this curriculum forward for their specific business or their community-based project. So that's a little bit of how I get things done. I am focused on impact, right? So one of my favorite quotes by myself is you always have to be mindful of your impact because it's the only thing that you have. Right? It doesn't necessarily matter, what people feel like you were supposed to be doing. If you have impacted them, that is what your focus is on, right? And so I make sure I'm intentional about who I am directing myself to. There's a lot of social emotional that goes into that as well, going back to that mental health school counselor thing that I found myself loving into. And now I can impact at a greater scale. My journey really lied with me being a teacher, a school counselor, and all things inside of those, and realizing that my impact was greater than four walls. And so I quit being a teacher about 4 years ago now. Still talk to most of those kids today. They still call and check on me. I call and check on them. They're graduating and doing all sorts of great things. But that's the impact, right? And understanding that legacy is more than you, right? And it's not about what you can put, it's how you can better the world.
Come on, man, just hearing you talk just opened up so much for me in my spirit. And just, you talk about impact. I want to go into that a little bit later, and that discernment piece, because that just stood out. To the discernment piece, I'm sure helps tremendously when it comes to your calling. And when you were talking about impact, and I was thinking about the scriptures that says you are the light of the world, the city on a hill cannot be hidden. And as believers, you hit home when you said, you can't discount your impact, because you shine when you're in the Lord. You already shine. So why not keep shining and actually walk in that and make the impact? And you're making community impact. That's so powerful. I want to get into that later, but let me first of all, let's talk about Big G, okay? The
Yeah.
big G, big God, Jehovah, okay?
Yeah.
Because I want to hear, and I'm sure the women listening to this podcast want to hear about your personal relationship with Christ and how you came to him, and if that had anything to do with, which it sounds like it does, but just for the sake of just humor me with how that impacts your journey to becoming an entrepreneur, from going into this, from teaching and mental health to now rebranding and community impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's think back. I've always had a foundation in the Lord. You know, I was raised Southern Baptist. You know, mama didn't play those games. I'm talking about you could only dress a certain way when you go to church, those type of things. But naturally, as you start to grow up and you start to learn for yourself, there's a lot of things that you unlearn about religion itself. And so what I began to do is, as I started to build my own relationship with Christ, in my own relationship with spirit, is break away from religious things, right? I broke away from, you know, this ideal that I'll be less of a woman if I have piercings or tattoos or things of that nature, because that's not the way the Bible would have you to do. And I really did grow into my relationship with Christ, as opposed to my relationship with religion. And that was the first start of it, right? It's to understand that everything that you've been taught is just a foundation. It's just to lay it out, right? And it's your responsibility as an adult, as you mature, to decide what your pathway looks like. And so if anyone asks me, yes, I am a Christian. I believe in Christ. That is where I go. But I lie on the spiritual side. I am focused on my relationship with God, because when religion fades, what do we have? Right? When people in the church harm you, what do you have? You are still supposed to have a strong relationship with God to understand that this is what life looks like. It's not, you know, the bells and whistles and, you know, you have to look like this every Sunday to come in. No, I need to make sure that no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, I am always in tune with spirit. I'm always in tune with Christ. So as we move forward through this journey with me, you know, I went through a number of different trials and tribulations, not understanding myself completely. And I know that's what led me into social, emotional, and mental health and things of that nature. I wanted to gain a deeper understanding of myself. What I didn't understand at that point is that the understanding of myself lied within Christ. So while I was attempting to figure out why it was that I could not stay in one area and be successful, why it was that I felt like I was stifled in every job position, why it was that every time I met someone and I was just trying to do good things, I was getting hit left and right and left and right. It was because my relationship with spirit, my relationship with God was dwindling, right? I was losing sight of what that relationship felt like, and focusing so much on myself that I felt like it was me. It's me. It's me. It's me. It's the me show. It's I'm not sure why, you know, it's happening to me, but it's not happening to me. It's happening for me, right? It's happening to lead me back into that relationship that I had. You know, I actually just spoke about this not too long ago with a friend. I was so heavily involved in the church. I was dancing, I was singing. You know, people will tell you at the age of 13, I built my church community. That's where that community spirit comes from and growing. I was overseas. I'm a military brat. For those that don't know, my dad was in the Navy. And so I spent my first 3 years of high school actually overseas in Italy. There was a church community there, and it was pretty small, right? But you know, I go in there and I'm 13 years old. And I'm like, why is there not a Sunday school? Why is there not a dance ministry? Why aren't we doing something for Black History Month? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? And the bishop of that church, I love her dearly. She says, well, create it. I said, okay, bet. That. So from a very young age, I understood the impact of community and understood that this was my power, right? I'm able to step into these spaces and make things happen. But like I said, didn't even really know how to put a name to it. So fast forward to present day, as I was in the middle of working my job, about 2020, it was 2020. Yep, that's when the pandemic hit. I was a teacher. I was in New York. I taught technology, loved what I did, but in that same space, I didn't realize this until I quit. It was a startup, right? It was a startup school. They had only graduated their one class by the time I got there 6 years prior. And at that time, I had done so many different things in that school that I felt so tied to it that I felt like I couldn't leave, right? So I built the technology program. There's 8 schools in that network. We were the only school that had a technology program because I built it, right? And I did it with the kids. And so I built this fully comprehensive, culturally diverse technology curriculum for 5th through 8th graders that had an honors track. Kids were walking out with certifications, all sorts of things. I then moved forward and, well, not even moved forward. At the same time, I had the girls basketball team that I established because there was no girls basketball team. We built social emotional learning classes. We had all these things. I was the DEI lead. I did all these things. I was putting all of this energy into the school. And I just felt like there was something missing, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And so as pandemic hit, they wound up actually moving me out of the classroom. One of my favorite stories to tell. They moved me out of the classroom and they say, hey, we know that you've been hooping and hollering with us about bringing tech to the other schools. The pandemic has hit. Kids don't know what they're supposed to do. Kids don't know Google Classroom. And we heard that your school is set. So we need you to go do this for the other 7 schools.
Wow.
Show them how to use technology to their impact, meet with these principals. I actually wound up being their STEM researcher, but only over technology, meeting with folks like Amazon and, Apple and all these different people that wanted to throw curriculum into our schools, and being the one that said no, right? Like, it's not culturally diverse. It doesn't meet our kids. It doesn't meet our population. Yes, it'll be a great name to have someone like Amazon giving us curriculum, but it's going to have the teachers suffer. So I have all this power, but I'm not getting paid for it.
Ooh.
And as entrepreneurs and as people that work, you have to be real with your situation, okay?
Yes.
Out of all this work that they had me doing, I was not being compensated. It was just a see a need, meet a need. That's the type of soul that I have. But my good mother says, "What you doing all this work? Have they increased your salary?" I say, "Well, I didn't think about that." So when I asked the question, they say, "Oh, we pulled you out of the classroom. So, it's kind of transferred over because you're not teaching." And then it came to a point where I was both teaching and still upholding those responsibilities. So I'm putting together family sessions and doing all of these different after school activities, weekend activities, just to prepare our community for what needed to happen during the pandemic. And if you were to go back to that school today, they will tell you, yeah, we attribute our pandemic success to Life. Life was the only one that knew what she was doing. When all the other teachers were scrambling, trying to figure out Google Classroom, I was walking out the door like, my kids know how to do that. So I know, y'all, I've been trying to tell y'all this for years. I got to get on the tech wave. But it came to a point where it hit a head, right? The schools got a whole bunch of money for the pandemic. So what our schools did, I was working at a charter school. They said, "Oh, well, we don't necessarily need the money, for the kids because we're set. However, we'll give that money to the teachers." So all the principals were to give and select teachers that went above and beyond during the pandemic and give them a bonus. I said, "Well, baby, I'm a shoe in for that." That's easy. I don't even got to put in no work for that. Y'all already know. Save the entire network, right? Yep. We sit on this football field and she calls 5 teachers' names. None of them are mine. And now I told you there was already a burning and an itching already saying that I need to go. And, I'm fighting spirit. I'm like, yo, God, I can't leave right now. Like, who's going to teach tech? I can't leave right now. Who's going to coach basketball? Like, we were #1 champions at that point. I was like, I can't just leave my kids like that. What am I supposed to do? And at that moment, that I could have received some sort of financial recognition, not a high five, thank you so much, but a financial compensation for all the work I had done. It was decided not. And at that moment, I heard Spirit say, "I told you to go." I said, wow. And I was sad about it. I went home, I cried about it. I called my mama again. I said, "Wow, I really think this is my last year." And she said, "Yeah, well, you've been saying this for every summer that happens. You say, I've got to figure this out. I've got to get out of school. And now I think that you've gotten your answer." And so it was hard, right? It was one of those moments that I fought still, even though I heard Spirit tell me, I said, I feel like I'm just going to be letting a whole bunch of people down. I'm going to be letting my kids down. I'm going to be doing all these different things. So forget what Spirit said. I'm gonna do it on my own. I'm gonna quit next year. I know I need to quit, but I cannot quit now. I don't have anything lined up. I'm gonna quit next year so I can make a plan and build it. And then I get into the classroom, and God knows exactly how to speak to you for you to listen. I'm sitting in the classroom, and one of my kids, who I would say not the most academic of the bunch, but loved him to death. He sits in front of me and he says, "So Miss Life, you leaving this year, right?" Blue, very random. I'm like, whoa, what happened? I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're leaving this year. When we were in the 5th grade, you told us that you were graduating with us." He was in 8th grade. He said, "You told us you were graduating with us. We're about to graduate, so you're going to leave." And you hear all the kids chiming in. Yeah, you didn't say that. I said, "Yo, what's y'all beef with me? Y'all don't want me to be here." But I knew in that moment that was God telling me, your kids are going to be fine. They're going to be okay. They recognize, right? And so I'm sitting there, I'm talking to the kids, and I say, the hard decision for me to make, but I hear you. I hear you. So yes, I will be graduating with you. When you walk across the stage, coincidentally, they walked across on my birthday. And I said, wow, this is the last moment. This is that moment. And I had to go, and I had those tough conversations with, leaders of the school, and let them know this is my last year. I said, "I'm sorry I didn't give you enough time to prepare." Then I was still met with a lot of love. I'm still met with a lot of gratitude, a lot of thank you for all that you did. But I knew that there was more. I had to go do more. And so I took a very, very big leap of faith. I am not going to recommend anyone to do what I did, because y'all didn't hear that call from God. I heard it, right? He told me to jump and leave, so I jumped and left, but I had nothing. No savings, no other job lined up, not a clue as to what I was supposed to be doing, okay? I don't recommend that. I don't recommend it, but I
Neither
knew
do I.
that this is what God told me to do, so I did it. Gratefully, when I left, I had an amazing man with me, and he's still with me today, that says, "Yo, baby, I got you. We're covered. I got you. Don't worry about it. You move down to Atlanta." So this is where I am now. I moved from New York straight to Atlanta. School ended June 16th. That's my birthday. And then I left not 3 days later. Packed up all the stuff. He paid for me to come down, and he's like, "Listen, I got you covered." And I sat there, and I was like, wow, now I'm in this moment where I am bare. I have nothing. I have zero income, $0. And I've got to just trust what God told me to do. And I am angry. Let's really get into it.
Let's get into it.
I am furious with Spirit for making me do this jump. And I said, I've never done this with my life. I'm very well organized, very well planned. I think about everything before I do. So for you to have me jump out on this leap of faith, and I ain't got no money and not a clue of what I'm supposed to do next, boy, you tripping. That is what faith looks like. That is what radical, unwavering faith looks like. And I just hear God saying, "You are mine. And if I told you to do it, then I got you." So I went through a couple of different things, right? I said, all right, well, what is it that I'm good at? What can I start to profit off of? If you want me to do this thing, what does it look like? And so I moved into, at that moment, like I said, I didn't have a clear picture of what I was doing. So I was graphic designing. I did a couple of logos here and there. I was doing websites, business cards. I was printing t-shirts. I was doing all those different things. And then as I continued to meet more people in the entrepreneurship space, I started to have a clearer understanding of what God was calling me to do, which was do exactly what I did at that school and every other place before that, create spaces. So as people were talking to me about their visions and talking to me about their missions, it's like because I'm neurodivergent, and some of my other neurodivergents can relate to this, people start talking and you see pictures. So I am visualizing everything they're talking to me about. They're telling me their visions. They're telling me what their business ideas are. And I'm like, oh, we can do this. We can do that. You can do this. You can do that. You know what? I actually know this. And it came from this wealth of knowledge that I had acquired through my experience of being a teacher. Because I didn't understand at that time, when I was teaching technology, I was branding that classroom. My classroom had to have investment. People didn't believe in what technology was. So from that very moment, when I said, I'm going to create technology, I gave it a name. It was Life Tech. Gave it a name, gave it a brand, gave it a logo, had the kids invested in it. The kids themselves started to become very much so my biggest competitors in this space, because I told them this is a we project, going back to community building. I'm not just teaching technology. I've never taught technology before. I'm not a teacher. And that's what I told them. I don't do teaching, right? However, I know how to get you to where I need you to be. So we worked together, me and those kids, for the next 6 years to build that curriculum out so that it was impactful for them. They got to be my biggest feedback. If it wasn't working, they felt comfortable telling me it wasn't working. So I took that entire model and said, how can I apply this to someone else's business? Well, in order for you to advance in your business, you do have to have signature programs. You have to have signature curriculum. You have to have things that people want to invest in, and I know how to do it. But that piece that people miss when it comes to building programs and building curriculum is that it has to be a brand. You have to brand it for people to be invested in it, to see it visually, to make sure that they're invested in whatever that you're doing. They have to attach themselves to it. So then I pulled in my knowledge of social emotional. Okay, well, what is it that people, when they're looking at programs, why would I want to go sign up for one? It's not just because you are who you are, although some people do that. It's because they have to get something from it. So how can we use the branding, the marketing, the psychology of it to make sure people are leading back into it? And so now my gears are turning. I said, wow, maybe I'm not a graphic designer. Maybe that's just a skill that I have. I'm really a strategist. Okay, well, what type of strategist am I? And then it keeps building on and building on. And each and every time I'm laying my head down, I said, God, I don't know what you're trying to do, but what you're trying to get me to see. But I'm down for the ride. I'm down for whatever the journey looks like. It's good, bad, indifferent. I'm here for it. I'm going to keep allowing you to do it. And I remember saying to myself at one point before Rebrand Land became a thing, I said, whatever it is that you have me to do, I'll do. I'm not going to question it anymore. I know that I made this radical leap of faith, but I was hesitant and I was angry and I had all of these emotions attached to what you were telling me to do. From this point forward, if this is the pathway you would have me to be on, then I'm going to do it blindly. I'm going to do it scared. I'm going to do it as much as I don't want to do it. And I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to do it. So now here we are, 4 years later, with a very clear picture of what I'm supposed to be doing, how I'm supposed to do it, with the results to match. You know, some of my clients, I have a client right now that's in New York that has a nonprofit. We've been working together for the 3 out of the 4 years that we've been working, that I built the curriculum for them. We've tested the curriculum, and now she's sitting in front of foundations and speaking about the curriculum and raising multi-million-dollar funds from things that I've built. And it's not to give myself a pat on the back, although it is. You should always give yourself a shot. It is to say that you have all those skills and talents already within you. Everything that I'm doing right now is nothing different from what I did in the career of being an educator. Now, as an entrepreneur, I get to get paid what I'm worth for it. Yes. Paid and set my own prices and do what I know God has called me to do, because without vision, there's provision, right? You have to have provision for the vision. And I don't believe that God gives you gifts and talents for you to do for free. He gives them to you so you can profit. That is another kingdom house, right? Entrepreneurship business is a kingdom house. And so even when we start diving into kingdom houses, I sat back and said, well, how many kingdom houses have I operated in already, right? How many different kingdom houses? If there's 7 kingdom houses, what ones have I tackled? Well, entrepreneurship is the newer one, right? Business is the newer one, but I've done education, I've done family, I've done all those other different ones. And now I'm like, all right, now I feel like God's leading me. The real path is leading down the path of kingdom house. Now I'm just at my 4th house. And when I'm done with this house, I'll jump to the next house and I'll tackle that house. Or if you have ADHD like myself, you are doing 4 houses at once.
Yep. Absolutely.
You've laid the foundation for 4 houses, and then you're going to go back to house number 1 and you say, you know what, let me build floor 1. And then you're like, oh, I'm bored with that. I'm going to go jump to that other house that I was building and go to floor 3, skip floor 2, just go straight to floor 3. All my neurodivergents understand, but this is how
I've never felt more seen.
You know? it's being comfortable in that, because the pathway of an entrepreneur, of a neurodivergent entrepreneur, doesn't look like the next person. I've heard forever, how is it that you're doing so much? You're not tired? How is it that you are doing this and you're over here, you're working with this person, you're doing this thing? And I've always been this person, but that's my superpower. I am able to focus on 17 different things at once. And because my mother is not a neurodivergent, she's very much so type A. As a child, I got something that other neurodivergents didn't do: organization. So my mother, who's very type A, she works for the government, has all her life. I probably stressed my mother out more than I realized as a child. I'm the oldest. I'm her oldest. Okay. So being neurodivergent, not really understanding what that meant at that age, not really putting a name to it. A lot of us, especially Black girls, were not diagnosed when we were young. We were called hyperactive, rambunctious, talkative, all those different things, right? And so there was not a, you know what, maybe there's something else going on and some kind of thing that we can help her. But my mother, loved her to death. Love her to life, I would say. My mother sat down and she taught me how to organize, prioritize, make sure I kept a schedule. One of the things that she ingrained in me as a child is, if you start something, you finish it. And I realized now that I understand, I did not get diagnosed with ADHD until I was 25. So imagine, right? Her teaching me that at the age of 3, you start something, you finish it. And how difficult that may have been for a neurodivergent ADHD little girl as myself. And so I'm fighting myself through tasks because she's telling me, whatever you start, you finish it. If after you done, you don't want to do it no more, don't do it. But you don't quit something halfway through, you have to do it. And now, because I have all of that, I can now go teach other people the same thing, which is why my curriculum's always hit.
My God, Kayla, first of all, oh my God. That was a lot, but it was beautiful, because I want our listeners to notice a few things. Okay. We've been, since the beginning of this episode, we've been talking about the importance of impact and community. You were shaped in community. You had got vision for your impact in community. And now you help community. Yeah. So, my God, there was a lot I could go, but I feel like we need to stick here because, you know, I know that, you know, we all experience church hurt and all of that, those things. And we think that to actually be effective in ministry, we have to stay within the 4 walls. Now, the word of the Lord talks about forsaking not the assembling of yourselves together, because there's a power that you have where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, asking of anything, there I would be in the midst of them. Right. So it's not just in the church. It's important that you have a church home, okay, for our listeners, but it's also important for you to know that you are being a minister of the gospel in business and impacting community as a minister of the marketplace. Yeah. Just as Miss Life here is. She's bringing life to these communities. She's bringing life to these brands. Mm-hmm. So I want you to understand the importance and not limit ourselves. Our God is a mighty God. Yeah. He's omnipresent, you know, and Jesus, you know, he had us, the Great Commission is to go out into the world and tell everyone the good news. How better to do that? Now we know that he gives some pastors, some teachers, some apostles, some prophets, all the 5-fold ministries, but we don't understand that we can operate in those offices by going out into the world and showing the gospel. How better to do that than in business? How better to be a display of the service that Jesus brought to the world than to be a display of it in your marketplace ministry? You're a minister, whether you think so or not. When you're an entrepreneur, you are ministering to people with your services. So I completely understand when you say, Kayla, like, you are responsible for your impact, because it's not just about you. And like you said before, God wouldn't just give you gifts to give them out for free too. I could go a lot of different places with that, but I want to, because I'm looking at your logo and everything. And, I often see when you talk about your business, talk about the main character. Can you explain that for our listeners? What do you mean when you say that Rebrand Land is the home of the main character?
Listen, so baby, main character is my favorite topic because I need people to understand. And if you are watching this, hear me out, okay?
Yes.
You are the main character of your story.
Mm.
You are the one, you are the person that people are coming to see. And that does not mean that your main character light shines over someone else's. It's like a perfect crossover story. And this is for my nerds because I'm a nerd, okay? So if you are a Marvel fan or a DC fan, right? When they come together, everyone's looking to see that movie because you've got your favorite character here and you've got your favorite character here. But guess what? When they leave, those stories still exist. And they're still going to have their fan base. They're still going to have the audiences that are watching them. It's the same thing for your life. So what we teach our clients is that no matter what it looks like, you have to step into your calling and say, I am the one that God has called. It's me, right? And I tell people all the time, oh, I'm God's favorite. I ain't got to worry about none of that. Whatever it is y'all got going on, don't matter because I'm his favorite, me. Right? But that doesn't mean that you're not his favorite. Doesn't mean that you're not his favorite. It means that I understand why I have such a calling, why I have to make such an impact, because I am always covered. I am his favorite. So we teach our clients when they come in, a lot of them, especially if you are a visionary, especially if you are looking to build some kind of community-based business, you're probably in the same boat that I was in, feeling like you're stifled in your current position because someone's always trying to stop you.
My God.
You understand why? You're like, I'm just trying to do right by these people. I'm just trying to do right for this work. I'm trying to do right by these kids in my case. And it's always an issue. For what? It's because you're the main character, and every main character has a climax. Every main character has a protagonist and an antagonist, and all of those things happen. But you have to navigate your story. And so when I understood that I was the main character is when I quit, right? When I quit that blind jump of faith. I actually will tell you a funny story for this podcast. There's, God speaks to me in twos, okay? And I say that it only takes him twice to say something to me. For some people, I'm trying to get to that one. You just tell me once and I do it. I'm attempting to get there. But oftentimes it takes twice. It don't take me 3 times. It takes 2 times for things to happen. So the first time was not actually when I got to that football field. And that was my second time that God had spoken to me. The first time was when I got arrested. Okay, so let's talk about it. So
juicy.
Yeah, hit the girl. I was, it was still the pandemic time. I drove from New York to Florida. My family is in Florida, and that was around Christmas. So I spent Christmas with them. And then, of course, y'all heard about my man. He lives in Atlanta. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do Christmas in Florida, and I'm going to go with my man in Atlanta for New Year's. Baby, I crossed that Florida-Georgia line. I said, oh, God. I'm being pulled over. What am I being pulled over for? I was more than likely speeding. And I knew that, right? And I'm like, all right, no big deal. Let me just go and let me just talk to this cop. Now, of course, at this time, this is when George Floyd and all this stuff was happening. So it was already a natural anxiety that was happening. But like I said, I'm God's favorite. I'm like, I'm covered. It'll be fine. I'll be fine. My mom is on FaceTime. True story. My mom is on FaceTime. And the cop comes to my car. He says, ma'am, do you know why I pulled you over? I said, was I speeding? He said, you were going 85 and a 75. I said, I am so sorry, officer. I thought I had the car on cruise. He said, well, it's fine. Give me your license and I'll be back. So I'm on the phone. My mother still, she's on FaceTime. I say, all right, mom, he seems cool. He seems fine. I'm going to get out of this. Okay. Comes back to the car. He said, can you step out of the car for me? I said, yeah, sure. No, understand. All right. I don't understand any of this. I don't get pulled over. I don't deal with police. It's not my thing. Right. So I'm like, sure, yeah, I'll step out of the car. He says, do you know your license is suspended? I said, my what? How? He said, it says out of state unknown. Are you coming from another state? I said, well, I live in New York. He said, it's probably where it's from. But he's like, I'm telling you, it only says like 2016. I said, 2016? It's 2020. Well, what are you talking about? So a ticket from 4 years ago has caused my license to be suspended? He said, yeah. And because of that, your tags are also suspended. So both of them are down. I said, there's no way. I said, so what do I have to do? He said, well, unfortunately, I have to take you in. I said, to where? Take me in where? He said, to jail. I said, jail? Listen, sir. I said, do you see me? Do you see me? I am not, no. I am a teacher. I work with kids. I do great work for the community. You cannot take me to jail. He's like, unfortunately, I've already called it in. I've got to take you to jail. And I am crying, honey. I am crying. Okay. My mother is on the phone FaceTime. Now I have assistive technology on my phone, right? So if you double tap the back of my phone twice, it takes a screenshot of my of whoever, whatever's happening, right? So I said, man, sir, please, I don't even know where I'm at. Can you please go grab my phone? My mama is on the phone. Tell her where I'm at so she can come get me.
Yeah.
He says, okay. And I kid you not, I have a screenshot of this cop and my mother on FaceTime, and my mother's face is bent to highway hell. She is mad, honey. She is angry because my mother always told me when I was younger, if I was ever get arrested, don't call her.
Ooh.
I said, listen, Ma, you can't leave me here. I ain't do it. Whatever they say I did, I didn't do it. You need to come get me. Please do not leave me in this jail. So fast forward to he drives me to the jailhouse. I am in handcuffs. My dog has also been arrested. They done threw her in the pound.
Oh no.
It is mayhem. Okay? I am sad. I am confused. But the officer says, hey, you're going to be okay. I'm not going to hurt you. You're going to be fine. I said, listen, sir, I hear all that, but you still got me in the back of your car in handcuffs. You over here talking to me. You got me in handcuffs, sir. You got to get me out of here. Get me out of here. So drives me to the jailhouse. I met this woman and her name was Benita. She was my intake officer. So she can tell that I'm super nervous. I don't know what's going on. And so she sits me down. And she says, well, okay, well, tell me what you do. You tell me who you are, what's your name, what's your occupation. So I tell her, I'm Kayla Life. I'm an educator. I live in New York. This is my New York address. Da, da, da. And so she closes her laptop. She said, okay, so now tell me what you really do. I said, huh? She said, yeah, you told me you were an educator and I get that. She's like, but there's something else that you do. I just feel like it's something else. And at that moment, I didn't have a name for what, like I told you, I didn't have a name for what I was doing. I just knew I was a creative. So I was like, I build websites, I do graphics. She said, oh my God, perfect. I knew it. She's like, because I have a makeup business and I'm trying to get my makeup business off the ground. And how much does it cost? And now here I am in this jailhouse, locked up, honey.
Locked
up. She keeps me from going to the back. Talk about being covered, right? See, you're covering, you have to understand what covering means, right? Doesn't also always mean you're not going to get yourself into troubling situations. Because I was in a troubling situation, but I was still covered at that point because they didn't make me put on no jumpsuit. They didn't take any of my clothes. I didn't have to wear none of that stuff. She kept me with her and she kept me inside of her proximity that entire time. So where other people would get arrested and they would be sent to the back and they'd have to be locked up and sit in the holding, I'm sitting with her. Every time someone came in, she would put me into one of those cells. She said, just stay here for a second. Let me clear them out of here. And I'm gonna bring you back because we got stuff to talk about. That entire time, me and Benita sat there and talked about everything about her business, what she wanted to do with her makeup, how impactful it was to her, how she didn't even want to do what she was doing right now. And I'm chat, 4 hours. I was sitting in there. 4 hours until my parents were able to come get me. And as soon as I got signed out to leave, or what they say, my bond was posted. So my bond was posted. She says, hey, here's my number. I'm not sure how much you charge for whatever it is, but please call me as soon as you get home because I want to pay for your services. Wow. And I sat there and I said, wow, that's nuts. That's crazy. Only I would get a client in jail. How would I, what? Man, right?
Hello?
Only I would do that. So I'd see my dad and I am telling him, I'm like, yo, you won't believe what just happened to me. He said, man, go speak to your mama. Your mama's car mad at you. I said, oh boy. I go to the car. My mama is fuming, honey. She is so upset with me. I'm knocking on the door. She won't. They went. This how mad my mom was at me, y'all. She went and got the dog first. She didn't even go get me.
Dang, that's cold.
We're
That's
bail the
cold.
dog out of the pound first.
That's
I'm
cold.
knocking on the door like, Mom, I got something to tell you. Finally get in the car. I said, Mom, look, I know you're mad at me. Let's deal with that later. Listen to what just happened to me. And I'm telling her, and we laughed about this today. She said, you were so excited to hear. And I'm sitting here like, only my child would get locked up and come out with a story like this.
Come on.
My life. Right. And so that was actually my first push. Like, okay, I've got to get into entrepreneurship because God just showed me no matter where I have you, I always got you. Always. I made $1,000 that day sitting in the jail.
Jesus.
At the moment that when I got out, I said, I posted your bond, but you owe me $400 something. I said, well, I just made $1,000. So that leaves me with
600.
And do this woman website. It was so impactful. And to this day, Benita has quit being a police officer, quit doing that, and has gone so full into her makeup business that I'm like, wow, I did all of that in a chance interaction.
Wow.
Imagine a ticket from 2016 just being posted in 2020. How does that happen? It doesn't. It doesn't. But that's because God was directing me to another pathway. He said, you know what? I call that my dramatic push from God, because he didn't have to do it that way. He could have done something else. But
listen, he had to let you know somehow.
He'll
do it.
He had to get me, and he got me. And so as soon as that next situation happened, I'm standing on that football field and I don't get paid for my work. I said, boy, I got paid in jail. Y'all tripping. I'm about to get up out of here.
Yeah.
I need to have that first moment so that second moment would make so much more sense to me. And I'm covered still.
My God. Jesus, I want you all to pay attention to the signs. See, God will make it very clear to you if you're called to the marketplace ministry. Your gifts will make room for you, even in prison. Listen, even in the pig's pen, even in the grimiest places where you think that you're at your lowest, he always turns those things around for your good. But I want you to notice some key moments in Kayla's story where God showed himself. Like, nobody can take the credit but God in this. Like, and that's the thing that's going to happen if it hasn't already happened to some of you. He will let you know it is him. Mm-hmm. He will make it evident. It is only through me. This is the gift that I'm giving you, and I'm making sure that they make room for you. Mm-hmm. And we could go a lot of different directions with that, but that is so good, because I find that a lot of the times we get comfortable where we're at. Mm-hmm. And even when you said, out of the mouth of babes, your student said, so when you graduated with us, I feel like the pattern that I see a lot of the times with entrepreneurs, the faith-based entrepreneurs, is that we get comfortable, but then that's when God comes. Mm-hmm. Because you're gonna, he comes when you're still. Mm-hmm. When everything seems to be going great, he comes when you're still, so you can hear him.
Come on. At that moment that I quit, I was scheduled to make 85 bands the next year.
Oh, snap.
I had just gotten my master's at that point. So that was an increase in salary. I had gotten the longevity of being there for 5 years. So that was another increase. So my return paperwork had me at $85K. And I left. I said, God, are you sure? That's what you want me to do? But it goes back to your point. Everything was cool. I had gotten so comfortable. I had built such a family and a community in that school that it's like, what else am I supposed to do outside of this?
Yes.
This.
And look at this. Yeah. Look at this. I want the listeners to hear maybe an incident, Because I always ask every guest that comes on the show, like, tell me about a decision that you made in your own business that maybe a non-believer would not make in their business because you had discernment. We talked about discernment earlier. So tell me about how being a faith-based entrepreneur, having that level of discernment has helped you facilitate a decision to act in a certain way that has ultimately paid off in your business that a non-believer otherwise would never make because they don't have that discernment. They don't have that foundation that we talk about. Tell me about what that decision was and what the outcome was.
Of course. So here recently, I actually heard from Spirit, clean. I keep hearing this clean. And I'm like, clean what? Clean what? What do you want me to clean? Clean my room, clean my office? What do you want me to clean?
Clean my body. Like,
right, clean what? Clean what? And oftentimes you don't hear the full prophetic vision.
Yes.
So I said, okay, clean. All right, I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna make sure I have that plain. And whenever it's revealed to me what clean is supposed to mean, then I guess I'll go do that clean thing, right? Being a faith-based entrepreneur, being someone that works in community, you have to understand the heart that you have. And the heart that I have is a heart of service. I love to help people. It makes me feel good to help people. I actually do not feel like I've been successful that day had I not helped anybody. Right. And then we talk a lot here about this idea of altruism is fake. Every time you do something, it's for the betterment of you. Right. And so what makes me feel good is to make sure someone else feels good. And so what that's led to me in business is clients that do not pay, clients that take advantage, clients that say, okay, well, she'll be fine. Like, we'll do it later. And I'll pay her when I get to it, and oftentimes what that led to, especially in business, is that we were the last on chopping block. Whenever they got funding or whatever, we were the last person to get paid, knowing the amount of work that we did. And so when I got hit with 3 different clients, different areas, don't know each other, that decided that month they were not going to pay their invoice. After all the work that we had did with them, after everything that I had done for them, it hit me again. Clean. I said, clean the client list? You want me to clear all the clients? Oh, what? And then I heard it very plainly. Why are you fighting for people that ain't paying you at all? I said, dang, God.
My God.
Dang, you got me. Okay. So no matter what relationship I have built with these people, no matter what, my heart was telling me to do, or rather where Kayla got involved and I didn't let Spirit get involved. I had to wipe my client list clean. I had to get with my lawyer. I had to say, hey, go ahead and send termination of service agreements to these set of people, because God is telling me to wipe the client list and start fresh. See, if you are not in tune with Spirit, you would not do that.
Yep.
Because you could still fight. You could still fight for the money that you're owed. You could still fight. But I heard God saying, I got something different. You've done all the work I've told you to do. Now clean it and do it now. Right. So I'm sad about it. I'm sad because I'm like, wow, these individuals I've been working with have been for years. And, I feel so invested in their stuff. And I'm invested in their vision because I know what their project is bringing to the world and they need it. And then I heard God say plainly, you're invested in it because you built it and I need you to go build somewhere else.
That's right.
I said, dang, all right, here we go. Clean the client list. So they put us at 0. They put us at 0 clients. They put us at 0 income. They put us at 0. And I have an agency. I don't work for myself. I have people that are on payroll here, right? And then the next thing I had to do was go be very transparent with my team about what I had done. I called them all to a meeting and I said, hey, listen, this is where we at, right? I'm following Spirit. This is what God has told me to do. And I had to apologize. I said, you know what? As a leader, I failed you. Right? I allowed people to manipulate me for their vision. I allow individuals to take control over what Rebrand Land is supposed to be and move it in their direction versus where we know we are supposed to be doing. I have allowed you guys to work for people that have not paid a bill. and I apologized, and it's my fault. Right?
Hmm.
And even having that very transparent moment with my team and just saying, hey, like, listen, I failed and I need you guys' permission to go ahead and correct this, because I'm going to correct it. But I need to be honest about where we are. We have $0 coming in. We have 0 clients. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God has got us covered. So if you trust in me, trust in God, we can make this happen. And my team is like, girl, fine. What?
Yes, come on.
You know, and it's in that moment I said, okay, that is only a testament into the leader that God has built me to be, right? Because had I been as the man would say, a hard paymaster, or if I, had taken this approach with my team, well, y'all still got to work, even though I did. I told her, I said, everyone has an option here. If you do not want to continue to work, don't do it, because I can't pay you. I ain't got no money. The company don't have any money. If you say this is too much for you to handle, I cannot fault you, and I would lose no love for you. I would still write you the most bomb recommendation letter, because at the end of the day, this is my fault. And my team met me with nothing but, girl, stop talking to me. What do you need us to do? And it was such a heartwarming experience to have. And then not shortly after that, we get a phone call from a government agency that says, hey, I know it was taking us a long time to get back to you, but we've got some projects that we need your help with.
My God.
6-figure contract.
My God.
12 months. All right. And I could cry right now just thinking about it, but I'm like, okay. Because when you follow discernment, you do what God tells you to do. All he does is open up doors.
Come on.
He just keeps opening up over and over and over again. And I heard God say in that moment, I told you I got you. Clean, fresh, new. Now, instead of you impacting one small silo of an area with one small silo client, I'm going to give you a nation. I said, okay. And I'm ready. And we can do it.
And you're ready because you clean.
I cleaned.
We gonna come back to that, Jesus. We gonna come back to that. But y'all see, okay? It's a whole ministry. I can't, Kayla, that is, my God. And no, I'm not gonna go. My God. So I don't even know. I think that's good, because I really want to talk about this cleaning house. Mm-hmm. But it goes into a prophetic word that the Lord's giving me for you. I don't know if you know that every guest that comes on my show, God gives me some sort of word or encouragement for, and it might be small, it might be a confirmation. Sometimes he gives it to me weeks in advance. Sometimes he gives it to me on the spot. This was one of the spots on the spot ones, because I was like, well, I'm not hearing nothing. So I just trust God that you're going to, speak to Kayla. But it was made evident to me as soon as you said clean. I already knew what the Lord was trying to do. And it makes sense. I believe in the book of Matthew, when Jesus is talking about uncleanliness of a man's house, and when he cleans it, if he doesn't replace it with something, then 7 more spirits more wicked than the first ones will come in, because those spirits say, well, I'll just go back to where I was, and I'll bring some friends with me. See, the thing about being a faith-based entrepreneur is that God goes before you, and he sees impending danger, but he also sees what he has for you. Yeah. If we're not careful, and the advantage of being a faith-based entrepreneur is we have an advocate of Jehovah that can go before us and give us instruction in righteousness. And so I already knew what was going to happen when you said clean. Yeah. because it's either one or two things. And because I know that you are rooted and grounded in Christ as the cornerstone of your life and everything that you do, I know what the end of the story is. I know what the next part is when he tells you to clean. Instead of those 7 spirits more wicked than the first, he's making room for 7 spirits more, more righteous, more whole than the first, because, God saw the end of a thing before the beginning with those clients.
Yep.
He made room so that you could be pure for what was to come. And a lot of people don't understand, how rooted and grounded you have to be as a person to work with the government.
Yeah.
You don't understand how together you have to be.
Yeah.
God knew that he could trust you with that.
Yeah.
God gave you a team that he could trust with that. So I think even this 6-figure contract is just the beginning. So look out for the 6.
Oof.
Look out for the 6. That's what he's saying. Look out for the 6 others that he's bringing. I don't know what the timeline looks like.
Amen.
But I just feel that so strongly, whether it's 6 new team members and then your business is going to grow, 6 more keys of wisdom, 6 more pillars that he's going to add on to your business, 6 things, 6. Watch out for the 6. That's what I'm hearing for you. Watch out for the 6.
Yeah.
And 7 is such a righteous number. It's a number of completion. And because you have been shown faithful and you have humbled yourself, what does the word of God say about being humble? He who humbles himself will be exalted.
Yeah.
You, just in your character, in your very nature, in your servanthood, you've allowed yourself to be humbled, not just by how you serve, but who you serve.
Yeah.
And because you have humbled yourself before who you serve, you are going to be exalted more than you could ask or think. So watch out, Kayla Life, for the 6.
Ooh, I receive that. Amen. I receive it. I woke up this morning and I said, I know you got something for me today. I know you got something. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on. I said, but I know there's something coming and I'm prepared. I am ready. Even with, you speaking about my team, funny enough, we went from 20 people to 6.
Wow.
Because I cleaned the team too.
What?
Clean. Everything start fresh. And with that whole aspect of cleaning, I said, okay, it was clean, now prepare. So now those same 6 people that I've got, we're preparing 90 days. We are reset, we're realigning, we're redoing everything to make sure that this journey that God has us on, for the people that we are intended to serve, for the community that we're intended to look at, the nation, as he said, that these 6 individuals are ready. Woo! And everyone that's on this team is very much so God-fearing and faith-based. There's not a time that we're having a team meeting that we're not talking about what God has done for us, God's doing for us, what our struggles may be, how we can support each other. Because building a community business or working in community, you got to have it within your team as well. Yeah. I always wanted to make sure that my team felt comfortable enough to say, yo, it's too much for me today. And I said, okay, so who's going to pick up your slack? Is it me? Is it this person? Who's going to make it happen so that you can take care of you? And many of us know in working in 9-to-5s or 9-to-3s, that's not always a thing. It's not always a thing that people care, period.
That's so true.
Not going on, that people care that you're a human being and human things happen to you. And sometimes you wake up and you're like, yo, I'm not even opening my eyes today. It's okay. Right. And so we lean on each other for support. We lean on spirit. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that prophetic vision and that word. I'm prepared for the 6. I'm here for it.
Come on. That blows my mind. And what a great leader you are. And I think God takes us through, these seasons where we're being shaped, not in our call, but to show us the kind of leaders we want to be. I remember so often when I was in the corporate world, I was blessed with some really great supervisors, but there's nothing like a supervisor that knows the Lord. They can only meet you so far, not having the Spirit of God and having the spirit of discernment. So I remember praying just before I was laid off and started my entrepreneurship journey. I said, God, make me a leader. A leader that I never had. And he has done that. My God. And I just thank him. So we thank you, Lord. Kayla, thank you so much for coming onto the It Is Well podcast. Last question. Where can the listeners find you?
Oh my goodness. You can find me everywhere. So if you're looking for me personally, you can find me at The Real Kayla Life on all channels. As well, that is my website as well, therealkaylalife.com. If you're looking for Rebrand Land and our services, it's Rebrand Land on all channels, making it very easy. That's that branding technique. So you have a whole bunch of different stuff running around out here. So any kind of way you guys want to get in contact, if you're looking for someone that is going to help you move in the next level of your business, if you need a great rebrand, I'm going to tell you that this process is overwhelming because we operate in spirit. So unless you're ready to move in what God has called you to do, then I would say, just wait on it. If you are ready to move and make things happen and shift your community in a number of different ways, find us at rebrandland.com. If you need me personally, if you're saying, hey, I just need someone to walk me through this, and I think I've got an idea going, then you can find me at therealkaylalife.com or therealkaylalife on all channels. It was such a blessing to be here with you guys today.
Oh, we appreciate you so much. You heard her. Go follow Kayla Life on all channels and the Rebrand Land. Once again, that wraps up another episode of the It Is Well podcast with Jasmine Caldwell. Remember our motto here. You have a story to tell. May every chapter, every sentence, and every word testify that it is well. Until next time, everyone, thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.